Greetings and welcome to another video by Sir Mike the Hedge Knight. We have a couple of new characters that I want to go over with you today. Looks like they are filling out the new Blacks faction, Laenor Velaryon, the Prince Consort. He is a gold battlefield aid mender. His attack is 64.9 thousand. 64.9, and he's a mender. Like, a marksman, yes. A beast, maybe. Or a fighter, maybe. 64.9. This could be the hardest hitting character in the game. And he's a healer. So, it just doesn't necessarily make sense, but it doesn't have to. It just doesn't have to. I think in looking at some of the characters that have come out over the last several weeks, the idea of everything being thematic has sort of gone out the window. So I think they just say, okay, Blacks need a mender. They need some gold characters. They need to hit harder. Here you go. Let's put them together. And they give us Laenor Velaryon, who is a relatively minor character in the show. So let's get all that out of the way. Let's just dive into the actual stats. So his attack stat, very, very, very high, makes him very appealing. His defense, very, very, very low. So the first thing that I'm thinking of is when you've got a healer, when you've got a mender on your team, you need them to have some survivability so that they can heal. If they're the first one dead, they cannot heal. So typically I'll see a marksman with stats like this. So a little concerned about the defense, but I am wowed by the attack. And despite the low defense, 127.8 thousand hit points is, pretty decent amount of hit points. So despite the low defense, sounds like he might be there for a bit. The Blacks faction bonus is to add defense the more members of the Blacks faction you have on your team. So he'll get a little bit of a defense boost. Jumping into his skill, he has a normal speed skill. He gains a Fury. Again, as you may recall, that is what the Blacks faction is known for. Laenor gains a Fury, then strikes an enemy for 275% attack physical damage. And remember, his attack is very, very high. This is a very strong single target attack. It also afflicts the enemy with a raid and a 100% chance to afflict up to 3 additional raid. Now, I don't know if they tweaked raid a little recently, but in the past, they were very vague with raid. They said, well, it reduces physical resistance, and when you defeat a raided enemy, you get some heal, but nobody really knew how much. And they tweaked it, and now they disclose it. For each raid, a target's physical resistance goes down by 3%, which is, it's small, but it's something. And if the target's defeated, the opposing team is your team. If you put raid on an enemy, when you kill the enemy's opposing team is your team. Really don't like the way they word things, but it is what it is. The opposing team heals 1.75% of their max HP per raid, and I think raid can stack up to 10. I've never seen it that high. And I'm seeing a lot of these max HP heals, and I'd have to go back through some of the OG menders in the game. But I feel like a lot of heals in the game or shields in the game, I think we're always based on like attack or defense or whatever. Basing something off of hit points and not current hit points, max HP is very strong. As you could see, Laenor's max HP was over 120,000. So even if he's down to 100 hit points, during combat, when you get a heal that's based on your max HP, which is what will be your highest stat, your maximum HP, it'll be higher than your attack and your defense no matter what. It's, even though the percentage seems low, it's pretty significant, and we're going to dive into that more a little bit as well. So really liking the single target attack, good damage, good raid. Jumping into his leadership ability. When a raided enemy is defeated by an ability, and they define an ability as a unique effect a champion brings to battle, including skill, passive, and leader. So it's the trifecta, it's all three. Laenor heals all team members for 20% of their max HP. Whoa. This isn't like a skill that might trigger once in a while. Like, you might get raid on a bunch of enemies, if you're building a team that can produce some raid. And every time you kill someone, you're getting just a massive heal on top of the other heals, which we'll get to, defeating a raided enemy, 1.75% per stack of raid, max HP, all team members. So you're killing a raided enemy, you're getting a heal. Now Laenor as a leader gives you even more, just a massive, absolutely massive heal, 20% max HP, if you defeat a raided enemy with an ability. So let's keep that in mind. So if you're playing a strong gem damage team, like a Baratheon gem popping team, obviously you don't need Laenor, and that's not going to help you as much because you're killing people with gem damage. Really good, and that's just part of it. And then it says if an ally defeated the rated enemy, so if it's any one of your team members but Laenor, they also gain 2 fury. So he's supplying a little bit of fury, 1 to himself when he uses his skill, a little bit here, and as leader, just the potential for a massive heal. As you're defeating enemies, you're getting just a really good boost to increase the survivability of your team. If his skill was the first skill used this turn, he heals all team members for 25% of his attack. So now this is not a max HP heal. And when he's enraged, he also grants the team a 40% dodge chance for 3 turns. Ever since they started Alliance War, seems like that small tower comes up all the time, and it's like 15%. And yeah, it triggers here, it triggers there, because it's 15%. 40%, that's going to trigger a little bit more. The idea that you can avoid all damage from an incoming enemy skill, 40% rate, that means that, on an AoE hit, two of your 5 team members on average will take no damage. That's really strong. He also has an ally bonus with the not yet released, but coming soon, Corlys Velaryon, Lord of the Tides. He is coming, I don't recall the exact date. I want to say it's a week and a couple of days. Nothing tremendous. Horizontal clear power-ups. They're fairly common to come by. When activated, this gem afflicts 2 random enemies with 1 raid. And again, having the raid reduces enemy's physical resistance. If you defeat a raided enemy, you get a little bit of heal, and then you can, if you use Laenor's leadership ability, you can trigger all sorts of wonderful good things. So, what do we think about Laenor Velaryon? Yeah, I think this is a pretty strong character. The attack is really strong. I like everything about this character except his defense. I'm a little worried about his survivability. Other than that, wow, this looks like a very, very, very strong character that, if you've been slowly or you're aspiring to build the Blacks faction, if you got a couple of those other ones, I can't see you being too upset with this addition to the Blacks family. They also added a new epic. The name will be familiar, Simon Staunton, who is just a royal pain in the Rook's Rest event. I think it's Battle 11, where when you defeat him, he stuns your entire team. So now you got to put in like a Zarro or so. You got to find a way to avoid his stun because that's a speed event or whatever. He's not quite as strong here, but let's take a look at him as well. He is also a gold battlefield mender. It's just like you're giving me 2 of the same class, same subclass, same color, and it's okay to stack colors in this game. I know I like to have the rainbow team because it reduces or somewhat mitigates the risk of getting a bad board. Doubling up on a color, it's not the end of the world, but what if you get very few yellow gems? Now you're not getting your skills, you're not doing your damage. So to also make them the same class and same subclass, now some people out there have more legendary gear than they can count. But for those of us that do not, we've got to be selective on who we put our gear on. So now if I get a piece of yellow Mender gear or Mender gear that's this subclass or perfect fit piece, well, who am I giving it to? Obviously, you'd be giving it to Laenor because he's a legendary, but it's a little bit harder to, I guess, equip gear to your team when they're all the same class. Like you've got to have a whole bunch. Like if you have a bunch of Menders, I have one team that's all protectors. Well, how much protector gear are you going to have? So, making it the same color, same subclass is just a minor gripe. Obviously, he's an epic, so his total might not as strong. His total stats are not all that intimidating. He has a slow speed skill. He gives himself a fury. He then heals all team members, and here we go again, for 12% of their max HP. Liking these all team member heals that are max HP heals. Very, very strong. 100% to grant each of them a renew. Also very, very strong. And when enraged, he will pacify a target enemy and it's not a random target, it says target. So I guess you get to pick someone. He'll pacify a target enemy for 3 turns. That's really good. My alliance is having some trouble with the golden Viserion dragon, and he's immune to stun, and if you wound or deceive him, he hits your whole team, does all sorts of damage. but he doesn't do anything against Pacify. In fact, he likes to be Pacified because he gets a defense bonus. So I was thinking the other day, hey, do I have any ways of actively, like I know Purple Tyrion has a Pacify. Like I'd love to be able to pacify him so that I could hold off his skill for a couple of turns. Well, here's possibly a way to do it. However, got to be enraged. Has a leadership ability at the start of combat. The strongest team member is granted 2 Fury and 3 Renew. Now that's interesting. Now we just looked at Laenor, and again, I'm not too familiar with the Blacks faction, so I don't recall off the top of my head what Rhaenys or the new Purple Rhaenyra's leadership ability is. I don't remember if one of them is like, wow, this is when you build a Blacks team, it must be this. It's just too strong. If that's not the case, looking at Laenor's ability looks really strong. So even if I have Simon Staunton and even if I go double gold, use him with Laenor, I like this leadership ability a lot. Would I use it over Laenor's? Probably not. His passive ability, when an ally is defeated, and as soon as I read that, these types of abilities are generally not my favorite because I feel like when you start losing team members, it's almost a sign of like unless you're in the late stages, and I'm beating someone anyway. But like if I lose some team members early, I feel like I'm probably going to lose this fight if it's raid or war or what have you. So things that trigger when I'm in a position that I'm probably not going to win anyway. Like it better be really, really good. So let's see. When an ally is defeated, Simon grants all remaining team members 1 Fury, okay, and heals them 6% max HP for each Fury he has. So if he's got 5 stacks of Fury, because you're in the mid to late game, you've been building Fury, you're trying to get enraged. Let's say he's enraged, so he's got 5 Fury. So to heal remaining members when an ally is defeated for 30% of their max HP, 6% per stack, pretty good. If the defeated ally was enraged, he will pacify a random enemy for 4 turns, which is nice as well. So pretty decent. What do we think of Simon Staunton? I think he's okay. I think he's properly, like if he was a legendary, I'd say not too impressed. He's an epic? Well, okay. The legendaries typically will be stronger than your epics with a few notable exceptions. I think he is a decent character. He's a good addition to the faction. Doesn't sound like he's necessarily essential. Does sound like there'll be some good uses for him. In the summon that they introduced with Laenor and Simon, when they introduced the Mountain and Blue Cersei, they made a summon that had a whole bunch of Lannisters in it, and they said, "Oh, okay, it's a low drop rate, but there was a raid up on Cersei or a raid up on the Mountain who's still there for a couple more days, and everybody else in there was a Lannister." And I said, "Well, this is good. There's 8 characters, so you can't really focus on the one that you want. You may not get your raid up as often, but at least you're getting, like if you're trying to build the faction, you're trying to build a team that works together, kind of makes sense." And I'm looking at this, and Laenor uses raid, and the Greyjoys use raid. So you see Euron and Yara, kind of lesser characters. Theon's a Greyjoy; he uses some raid. You got Rhaenys and Green Alicent's and Kragas. I mean, it's a little. Some of these guys like kind of work together, but not too impressed with the pool. There's a rate up for Simon Staunton as well. And there is no rate up. However, they did introduce a couple of new commons. The small folk stone thrower, we've seen this guy. We got knights in armor and swords and fire breathing dragons, and this guy comes up and throws a rock at you. So as we've seen him before. I think he's in the Rook's Rest event. He's a purple marksman, very fast skill, like that. Throws a jagged stone at a single enemy. Love it. The attack only has a 50% chance to hit, but deals 240% attack physical damage. So he's a marksman, meaning his attack will be higher than his defense. 240%. Really nice single target attack and very fast skill. Love that. Don't love the 50% chance to hit. However, if he's enraged, he will always hit and do 120% bonus damage. So if you get this guy enraged, this is a common. Now it's 360%, and this is the level 1 skill, I presume. I haven't. He's not even unlocked, so I presume they're showing me level 1, which means it's going to get better. Very fast, high attack character, 360%, and if it always hits, pretty good. His passive, when a team member is debuffed, the stone thrower gains 10% critical strike chance for a couple of turns. Okay, anytime you're debuffed, that's helpful. If Lowborn Justice, I presume that's the name of his skill, If it hits critically, it reduces target defense by 5% for 3 turns, and he will gain a Fury. Looking at when he stars up a little bit, the critical strike chance goes up, the Fury goes up. You know, I mean, decent. Certainly doesn't hurt. Gives you a little bit extra. Uh, pretty for a common character. I would say that they're filling out the faction, and they also introduced a common marksman. So both marksmen, a blue Staunton marksman. He has a normal speed skill, single target attack, 225%. Physical damage to an enemy with a 75% chance of inflicting bleed. If he's enraged, he has the same percentage chance to inflict 2 bleed. Doesn't say 2 more bleed. So are we 1 bleed or 2? Hopefully that goes up at some point if you skill him up, level him up, skill him up. You get the percentage higher and perhaps the number of bleed higher. Again, normal speed is okay. He's a marksman. His attack is high. His passive is interesting. When a team member gains Fury, the Staunton marksman fires an arrow at a random enemy dealing 150% attack. Remember, he's a marksman, high attack, physical damage. The whole gimmick with the Black's faction is adding Fury. We've seen it with leadership. We've seen it with passive. We've seen it with active skills. You've got 5 members of the team trying to add Fury. And anytime someone gets a Fury, he's going to throw out 150% attack damage. Now, it's a random enemy. I get that, but I mean, he's just going to be, he's a marksman, right? He's standing in the back and he's just peppering people. So his active skill, I think, is okay. He's sort of like the opposite of the rock thrower guy. The rock thrower guy, I like his active skills, passive, This guy, active skill is okay. It's not terrible. Normal speed, decent attack with a single target. But every time someone gains, it sounds like if you build the team right, where you have a steady stream of Fury, you have a lot of characters that produce Fury because the goal is to get your team to enrage status. If this guy's around, he's just going to be peppering people with arrows. So overall, the 2 commons as well, I think, are pretty strong for commons. I mean, there's a lot of commons in the game that have some use. Use them for this event or that event, what have you, or maybe in the tower. But these are guys that I could see being used like on a raids team or on a war team for the Blacks. Now, are they better than the legendaries? No. But again, if you're not a whale and you're not getting all your legendary, there's only a few legendaries out. And if you're not getting them all to 350 the day they come out, you're going to need to fill some gaps. You got some good gap fillers here. You have some very useful commons. So overall, what do we think of Laenor and Simon and these commons? I think you could tell from my tone. I like them all. I like them all. I am unfortunately, you can only pursue so many things in this game, so I am not pursuing the Black's faction. I do have a decent amount of gold socked away. It's, not much. I mean, I spent most of it on the mountain and Blue Cersei, but I'm over 7,000. I could get some of him. Is it worth it to get him to 3-star? I don't know. If I'm not building a Black's faction like he does have a strong heal. He does have a strong heal. I could work him into a Greyjoy team. They work with Raid. Not my Greyjoys aren't strong, but I can work them in there now. Overall, all 4 characters, the 2 commons, the 1 epic, the 1 legendary, like them all. I think they are all decent characters, and I've got to take a look and see if even Melees, the dragon, who you can't use in PvP, I don't even know if the dragon's attack is 64.9. I mean, I keep staring at this number thinking that I'm missing something, it's supposed to be 44, not 64. Really, really strong attack, good amount of hit points, a little bit squishy, really good potential, really good heals. Yeah, think this character is good. Think all 4 characters are good. Think the Black's faction is good. Think the summoning pool is a little on the weak side. Would have liked to see, obviously they're not going to just give away all the Blacks, but wouldn't it have been nice, if Rhaenys and Rhaenyra were in there? Because now I'm thinking about spending some green tokens, because now I could spend some gold, I can get Laenor, now I could spend some green tokens, and I can start building up my Black's faction. To build them one at a time, it just requires so much in resources or cash that, for an F2P or for a light spender, it's going to be very, very difficult. Comment below, let me know what you think about Laenor and his cronies that have just been introduced, and we will see you soon.